You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you to take another lap for the extra mile for today, August 26, 2021. Man, it's been a while since I did that intro. It is now time, for the NASCAR playoffs. One more race until we set the field in the Cup Series. Truck Series playoffs have already gotten started, and they had a whale of a race in Gateway. Xfinity and Cup will set their fields in Daytona. We've also got Formula One back after a long absence. We also got some LeMans 24 to get into. But before we do that, I'd like to welcome in my co-hosts Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward.
What's going on, guys?
How's it going tonight, fellas?
Good to be talking to you guys once again. Get on into the chat if you're listening live and want to talk to us. We'll read your comments out here on the channel. So let's go ahead and get started. Got a lot to get to tonight, so don't want to waste a whole lot of time. But of course, before we go into today's show, I also want to get our weekly update on how everyone's F1 2021, if you've been playing it, career mode has been going, or what racing games you've been playing this last week.
You want to go first? Okay. So I was not here to update you guys last week, but I texted you, obviously, so you guys know. But I finished 4th in my driver standings, driver championship for F1 2020 in my first season as a start-your-own team. And I finished 6th in the constructors, I believe it was. I could have my numbers mixed up too, but so anyway, so new year, I have Ocon as a teammate. Max Verstappen is racing in green this year. He's running for Aston Martin, which seems like blasphemy to me, and maybe foreshadowing this year, the two drivers for Mercedes, Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton. And George Russell is for Ferrari. I think him and Leclerc are teamed up at Ferrari, which is an interesting combo.
That's an interesting one.
But how about you, Michael? How you doing over there?
I actually haven't been playing F1. I've been playing a very old dinosaur of a game called NASCAR Racing 2003, and that game is many years old, but the modders in the community have kept that game going, and honestly, that is the most realistic. I can't tear myself away from it because that is one of the most realistic NASCAR games I've ever driven.
It set the gold standard for a long time for NASCAR PC games, and I'm glad it's still living on to this day, even with the rise of iRacing. I have also been taking a trip down memory lane recently. I've actually been playing through the career mode on NASCAR Thunder 2003 through an emulator I have, and if you don't remember that game, that was the career mode where you actually had to you could hire the pit crew, you had to hire the builders and fabricators, and you built your chassis and engines, and you had to maintain them and things of that nature. It was really during the golden age of EA Sports, I'll call it. I just finished my first season today, finished 5th in the championship, had a chance to win it in my inaugural season, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the 2003 Phoenix Raceway had different ideas. Thanks, Junior. So I ended up getting taken out of that race and did not win the championship, obviously, but going in with much better ranked up crew and builders. So I've got some new bullets coming in the gun and can't wait to get those built, and we will see how the 2003 season wraps up. Dale Jarrett won the championship, by the way, in my career mode. So took the UPS truck and put it in victory lane as far as the championship is concerned. But that is our weekly racing video game update that we've been doing here. Let's get into the program. We'll start with the Le Mans 24, and there's a lot to get to in the race. Christopher, I don't know if you saw a lot of it. I know Michael and I were pretty much glued to it, but I'm going to start at the end and work our way to the beginning, because the end of the race had something happen that scared the crap out of me. We almost lost the flagman coming to the end of it. I know Michael knows what I'm talking about. For those that don't, at the end of the 24 hours of Le Mans, there's a tradition where the flagman, to end the race, physically walks onto the track out of the racing groove and waves the checkered flag. Now, usually it's not an issue because most of the time these races are decided by laps, not seconds. So, as the GTE Pro and Hypercar winners, who were Toyota, came to the finish line, everything was good. But behind them, the LMP2 battle was literally coming down to the last lap once again. As Jota and the WRT, the number 31 car for WRT, was going, as the British would say, hammer and tongs for the top honors in the class. They were separated by 0.7 of a second at the end. Well, that's a problem, as they actually came up on the slowed down GTE Pro and Hypercar traffic that were trying to get into the photo. So the WRT car, the number 31, which was driven by, they don't have the names listed on here, but the number 31 Team WRT car, cuts to the right to get around one of the Ferraris and nearly smashes into the flagman. The guy has to do a little bit of a jump to get out of the way, and it scared the bejesus out of everyone when it happened. And Michael, I don't know what your reaction was, but my heart went in my throat when I saw that WRT make that right-hand turn to get around everybody.
Yeah, mine did too, and I know a lot of people might hate me for this, but I think that tradition needs to go. These cars are going way too fast, and the worst part about it is they're still racing. So I think we need to do, back to, having on like a flag stand or something like that, waving the checkered flag, because it's kind of too dangerous to just walk out there. Like, these guys are still racing.
Yep. I completely agree that it is time to put this tradition to bed. Especially now that this race is just become a 24-hour sprint race. We don't see the reliability issues that we used to see in recent years, and with how competitive these cars are, all of the classes are so close now that this is probably going to become the norm, where we're going to see a lot of classes running at the end with the leaders within a few seconds of each other. I know Hypercar was different just because it's Toyota and then two new teams. So, but the other classes were close for most of the night. That could become more of the norm, especially with what's coming down the pike for Hypercar. It's time to remove the physical guy from the active racetrack. And Christopher, I don't know if you saw the race, but I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, and I actually watched quite a bit of the night portion. It was obviously, time zones are different, but it was around 10 p.m., 11 p.m. our time, and I watched probably a good hour or so. And, it's night, so there's always obviously not a ton going on, especially in terms of visibility. But I did end up seeing a I don't want to say a highlight, because I don't think that would be an appropriate term for the end of that race. But I did see the video, and like you guys were saying, it was a little bit troubling. Maybe not troubling, but worrisome, seeing, and when I saw the video, I knew that he was okay. Like, I knew he didn't get hit, but it was still like one of those things. Like, that was too close for comfort. You know, obviously, very happy that he is safe and was not injured by any means. But it's one of those things where I would not mind that tradition going goodbye.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely good on it going away, but the tradition that isn't going away apparently is Toyota winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans after this team scratched and clawed and had God knows how many issues trying to win this race, including one of the most famous breakdowns in Le Mans 24 history, which we got another one of those this year, by the way. Poor WRT should have had a 1-2 finish, but the 41 car throttle sensor broke on the last lap of the race. Ended up DNFing, just gut punch for that team. Thankfully, the 31 was there to pick up the pieces. The 7 car finally wins the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the hypercar category, with Conway, Kobayashi, and Lopez picking up the win in it. But, Michael, this was a banner day for the hypercar class as all 5 cars finished the race.
Which I'm surprised about, because usually this race is very taxing on those on the lead field, but they all managed to get through it, which makes me wonder, you know, are these hypercars, they seem to be a lot more durable than the Le Mans prototype cars in the past, which is, it's good to see. You know, it's going to be a lot of, especially when 2023 happens, it's going to be a lot more just, you know, pure racing and not a lot of worrying about, you know, cars breaking down. It's just going to be pure racing action. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually happy with how these hypercars handled the conditions. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of them, especially here in America, where they're going to be running in some of these American races.
Yep, the LMDH / Le Mans hypercars will be eligible for racing in IMSA and WEC, and all the manufacturers have talked about potentially running their makes, whether it's a hypercar or the LMDH, in America for at least some of the, or at least the endurance races. I know Audi and Porsche are talking about running their cars full year, which will be extremely exciting. We finally got the announcement that Cadillac was coming in, which they were supposed to announce it on Le Mans weekend. Waited until after for some reason, but whatever. We know they're here now. But Christopher, for these new cars that are coming in for the new manufacturers, that has got to be a good sign that these cars can come to the toughest race, even in their first year. I won't say they can be competitive, because the bike holes and Alpine were not bike holes, sorry. The Glickenhaus and the Alpine were not that competitive compared to the Toyota. But we do know that the cars will at least hold together for 24 hours, even in their first year.
Yeah, and I think that that is a good sign for other manufacturers who are, you know, looking into joining. It definitely has to send a good message. You know, obviously the whole point of the endurance races back in the day was the reliability. Can we build a car that is going to be able to run competitively for 24 hours without stopping, short of driver swaps? You know, we've all seen Ford versus Ferrari, an amazing movie, and it was all about durability. And so, like you had kind of alluded to a second ago, you know, that reliability isn't quite as much of the game anymore. Now it's that 24-hour sprint. So, yeah, I think that new manufacturers definitely are going to be taking notes that, hey, we can do this, we can run, we can be competitive, and it's not quite the daunting task that it once was.
I think it still makes it exciting, even if it's not really a durability challenge anymore, because now the teams can go all out, which means it's more of a driver's race, which is ironic for a 24-hour race to be that way, because usually, as you said, and what we've all seen, through 30 years, it used to be you would get to the day portion on Sunday and half the cars are out. And of the cars that are running, half of those are limping along with damage or reliability issues just trying to get to the end. So we're entering a new competitive age of endurance racing. I don't think it takes away from the mystique, because some people think it's too easy now with how perfect the cars are. I think now it's a lot harder because you can't take a break during the race anymore. You've got to go 10 tenths for 24 hours.
Yeah. 124 hours of just foot to the floor.
Yep. So the WEC will be back in a couple of months for another event after this one, as everyone's going to need a long break, also quarantine because of COVID-19. They will be back in Bahrain October the 30th. It's going to be, I believe, a 6-hour event. Go ahead.
Not to change the subject, but did you guys see who was in attendance at this past weekend?
At LeMans?
Max Verstappen?
Yeah. No, Chad Knaus.
Yep, Chad was there.
Oh, wow.
I am very interested at what he's been doing since he retired from crew chiefing full time. I mean, it just seems like if there's a racetrack, he's at it, and it's fun seeing him participate in Jimmy's post NASCAR career. It looks like Chad's having a lot of fun, dipping his feet into basically everything that moves. It's fun watching, even as someone who wasn't necessarily like a Jimmy and Chad fan per se, a Hendrick fan, sure, but it's just been really fun seeing him travel the world doing this type of stuff.
It's nice seeing like NASCAR drivers at Le Mans in general, because you would think like they would be excluded, but no, they love being there.
I would like to see NASCAR drivers run that race. Unfortunately, it's a conflict with just how our schedule is set up. I know a lot of Formula One drivers have talked about they want to run it as well. Hopefully, we'll be able to make something happen where all of these drivers can get to this race and actually, run it. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And also, I think Chad has been doing some work when Jimmy does the endurance races.
Yeah,
with
he's
Chip
been
Ganassi
crew
Racing. So he might be a part of that Cadillac LMDH program going forward, because I think he's gotten interested in a lot of that.
Yeah. No,
if he does, they would have a really credible crew chief on hand.
He's there at Le Mans. You wonder if this is like a recon, get some information type of trip. And it also might have just been a bucket list item for him to do too. Obviously, That's a lot of people's bucket list race to go to. So
we were going to try to get over there for 2023 as a group. I've got a family vacation that year, which I think happens on the week of Le Mans, so I will be out of that extra mile trip if it does happen. But you guys have fun. But we're going to move on now to what happened in Michigan. The Cup Series ran there. Ryan Blaney picks up the win, ends up locking Kevin Harvick into the playoffs as well. A lot of controversy over the 550 package. I honestly thought this race was fine. The new resin they put down worked well. It kept the grip more consistently so that the groove could actually widen out on a track that the pavement isn't really aged yet. It's getting there, though. Unfortunately, we saw some really hard hits. I know Brad Keselowski accidentally right-reared Austin Dillon at the end of stage 2. That hurt.
Yeah, that hurt to watch. That was a very hard hit there. But it's also just hard racing. I mean, to be honest with you, that is the fastest I've seen the 3, like, most of the season.
The 3 and the 8.
There competing.
Yeah, the 3 and the 8, for that matter. Tyler Reddick and Austin Dillon. Where were those cars all season? Because, Christopher, they were bad fast, and Austin Dillon probably wins that race if he doesn't get taken out.
I don't know about win, but I definitely have him down for a top 5 for sure. Mm-hmm. And that could be the difference. I don't know what the points differential is between Reddick and Austin, but Reddick right now is in on points, and it's going to be interesting to see coming into Daytona. Obviously, plate races, we're going to Daytona for a reason with this last race, and the optics from NASCAR, they got to be like salivating at how good of a storyline this is. One spot on the line and a bunch of drivers looking for it. They couldn't have scripted this out better if they had to, realistically. But it'll be interesting if team orders comes into play. If we get down towards the final handful of laps and Reddick and Austin Dillon are out in front, does Richard say, I want my grandson in, or does he, especially if Reddick's in the lead, it'll just be interesting to see how it goes. Because I'm not really a Dillon fan. I think he's very spoon-fed, in the words of my favorite driver, Silver Spoon. So I think it'll be an interesting storyline in Daytona, though.
It is going to be I keep using this word interesting, but NASCAR put this together to have, the walk-off Game 7, winning your in type moment. That's what this is. And I really want to see how RCR has to play this, because either way, one of their cars is not going to make the playoffs at this point. Reddick is the last spot, so whatever Austin Dillon does, they can't work together, because if Dillon's ahead, Reddick is out, and vice versa. It's going to be a headache for that team all night on Saturday, and I can't wait.
Bring on the chaos. Yep. I am ready for this. I've been ready for this. And it's going to be a, for lack of a better term, a shit show. And it's going to be glorious. If the big one doesn't happen by lap 20, I will be very surprised. But I'm looking for multiple midfield big ones this week. I just think that there's too much on the line, and anyone from about 8th place back on is going to be the potential to be caught up in the big one, because I think that you're going to have a lot of playoff drivers who are already in running, the top 5 at least. And so I think when the big one happens, it's going to collect the back of the field, and ultimately I think someone who's already in is going to win, and Reddick will be in on points. That's my prediction.
I think it's going to be completely different. I really think this race shapes up that someone outside, of course, for shadowing for nearest the win, somebody outside the top 16, I think, is a lock to win this race, just because of the nature of plate racing right now. These last 20 laps become a complete S show at this point. And T, nice to see you. I know you had volleyball duty. Been watching that on Twitter. You are a rock star at that. Check out Set Point, by the way. Great show talking about everything volleyball related. But the way plate racing works now, it's a S show in the last 20 laps, because everybody is trying to make moves and the brain turns completely off. Now, Are the runs going to be less dramatic this go around? We will see. They're down to 450 horsepower here at Daytona with the new changes. They took the wicker off the top, so we shouldn't see a lot of those deadly runs that we've been seeing that have caused a lot of the incidents. But at the same time, you're trying to win at Daytona and you're trying to get into the playoffs. Somebody's going upside down when they take this white flag on Saturday night.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I have a feeling, like I've kind of already said, is that it's going to be one of those guys fighting for a spot in the playoffs. I don't necessarily think it'll be a playoff driver who's already in. But I think at the end of the day, you have two camps of people in NASCAR as a whole. The people who think that plate racing is just a big gimmick, and then the people who think that this is, just another show of skill. I'm not necessarily sure which side of that coin I land on, to be completely honest with you guys. But it's going to be a show of S, without a doubt. And my hope, to be completely honest, is just that everybody that gets into their car gets out of their car without any sort of injury. That's really all I hope.
I think that's all we hope for at the end of the day. So you can watch that race this Saturday night on, I believe that's on Big NBC. Let me check before I say that. I believe it's on Big NBC this weekend. At least it should be. Usually they would have Daytona there, but it is, as we look over at the handy dandy NASCAR schedule, as soon as it loads. Of course, I'll try to go to this and the page immediately breaks. Yeah, it's on Big NBC this week, 7 p.m., the start of the race. So, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into what's going on with IndyCar and Formula One before we get to Nearest the Win. First, I'm going to give a shout-out to IE Sports Radio sponsors, the Southern California Warriors. Fortunately, they took a tough 20-0 loss on the road to the Las Vegas Saints. They're now 1-1 on the season. They'll be back next week on the road versus the Desert Scorpions. So congratulations for them. And folks, you've heard me say this for a while now. Semi-pro sports, unlike any other sports organizations, players are out there trying to get videotape for big colleges, trying to get back into the pros, or just trying to stay in shape. And if you are looking for that second chance on the gridiron, maybe give semi-professional sports a chance. And if you're looking out there in the Southern California Warriors, or in the Southern California area, to get back on the gridiron, give the Southern California Warriors a look. They're on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram Southern California _Warriors, and Facebook Southern California Warriors. We're also sponsored by Background Check International. Businesses, are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Freeman take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for use of any crimes such as identity theft or any illegal activity. Check them out on their website at bcint.com or Background Check International, BCI. We'll be right back here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back here in Extra Mile IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We're getting into Formula One, and we just started a conversation on some comments Toto Wolff said. For the record, Christopher, I did not. I don't know why he would say they got more unlucky at Baku when Max Verstappen ran or, popped a tire and almost died. But Toto's got jokes, I guess.
Yeah, he said that overall, the only time this year that Red Bull has been unlucky was this past race when Bottas ran into him. That's the only time this season that they've been unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
And that they were more unlucky at Baku because they should have won the race. His exact words. And he said the reason that they were more unlucky is because Red Bull did not have their tires properly inflated, so it was just deserved. But I think the tires were inflated fine, because obviously it was Vettel that lost the tire, right?
Vettel? No, Stroll also lost a tire.
Yeah. So, interesting. But Wolf's had his own runaround the past week.
Yeah, there was a slight issue of potential insider trading with him and Lawrence Stroll that ended up becoming a big old nothing burger as authorities rejected claims that there was insider trading, which had something to do which had something to do with the Aston Martin brand and Mercedes coming together in Formula One, which of course would have bumped the stock price a little bit. So, thankfully, that was not a thing, because the last thing we need coming into this race are more talking points. We'll get to the news that we were expecting but didn't get in a minute, but we're coming into the race. We all know what this is. The race to the championship. Lewis trying to lock in for the 8th. Verstappen trying to take it away. They've already had 2 run-ins in back-to-back weekends. I think we can all agree there cannot be a third run-in between these two teams.
Correct. I think I texted you guys today. There should only be one team order coming from Mercedes, and that is do not touch a Red Bull car. If you have to give up the position, do it. Just do not, under any circumstances, touch a Red Bull car.
Yeah.
Because and to be honest though, even though I'm a little bit biased, if anything happens this weekend between a Red Bull and Mercedes car, and it is more Mercedes' fault than Red Bull, the FIA is going to have to step in and do something.
I think if there's another contact, if they touch again, the FIA is going to okay, something's going on here. And
I just hope it doesn't come to that.
I hope it doesn't either. Just the problem is the two drivers we're talking about, Michael, Lewis and Max, they're going to have their elbows out 10/10 racing for this championship, which is going to lead to contact, but we've already seen more contact than we would have liked to see.
I mean, that's kind of the nature of these drivers, though. They're two drivers that don't want to give an inch. So, if that happens again, it just, in my opinion, it just happens again. These are just two drivers who just want to win and don't want to give any quarter to their competition.
Yeah, but I think you've got to find... You can't touch, and there can't be another incident like what happened on lap 1 at Silverstone. You definitely can't have that, especially here with how fast this track is, but definitely can't have another Hungary where Bottas runs out of talent and just bowls everybody out the way. Because that one you can explain away by the wet conditions. You can't explain it away this time, although there is a chance for rain on Sunday, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
That race can be seen early in the morning on, of course, ESPN2. Christopher, we were expecting to get an announcement that George Russell was going to Mercedes. We didn't get one, so what gives at this point?
In my own opinion, the longer this goes on, the more likely it is that Bottas stays put. And that's just my own personal opinion. But that's how it seems to me is they're trying to come up with a contingency for Russell to keep him in, under their wing, because Christian Horner said, like, if they don't sign Russell, I'm calling him. Mm-hmm. And if there's one thing that I believe at this point, Christian Horner will do anything in his power to hurt Mercedes. And George Russell will probably be the first thing he does if they keep Bottas, is Russell can expect a call from Christian Horner. So I think it'd be in Mercedes' best interest to keep Russell, to move Russell up and send Bottas elsewhere. But the longer this goes on, I have a feeling that it's Bottas staying.
I kind of agree. If it's taken this long, it's probably Bottas staying, and they're probably trying to work out something with Russell to keep him there and say, look, you are coming up to this car at some point, so
just please don't sign with Red Bull.
Yeah. They're at least trying to avoid him signing with Red Bull, because Russell's going to be strong there, but I don't really know where he goes at Red Bull.
Well, AlphaTauri for a year, but I don't think that Perez has signed an extension, so technically that seat's open.
I'm going to check, actually, because I think they got to get something done with Perez
soon. I mean, you might be looking at a multi-team deal going on here to swap people around.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of movement. I think if you're Red Bull, you lock Perez down long term and go with him. He has driven that car. Okay, so he's right. We already talked about this. Me and him are the same age, but you got to lock him down for a couple of years. Like, he could win a world championship if Max has a bad season, I think, in that car. So
But I'm also kind of almost wondering about, Pierre Gasly entering the chat for that seat over at Mercedes too.
I thought you said over at Red Bull, and I was about to say,
I don't think Gasly's going to get back in that seat. That would be an interesting swap. That would be an F1 2021 level swap at this point.
Yeah.
And I really want Russell to get a good car, whether it's the Williams improving or he gets into one of the top cars. So we saw him in that Mercedes. He should have won that race last year at the Bahrain Outer Circuit, and it sucks that he didn't so much.
He should have won that race.
But before we get into nearest the win, we're going to get into IndyCar. We have a new points leader. Pato O'Ward now leads the points after a runner-up finish at Gateway in a race that was chaotic, I think is a good way to put it. We had several incidents, including Rinus VeeKay cleaning out the Chip Ganassi duo, which brought into question driving standards in IndyCar. Now, look, we saw a great race at Gateway. Roman Grosjean, first oval race, didn't drive like it, put on a show. But we also had some drivers make some really dumb decisions. I don't think it's a IndyCar needs to step in situation. It's just in my opinion, it's a changing of the guard, and you've got a lot of fast young guys trying to find their way, and I think they'll work it out in a couple of years. Even maybe next year, really.
Yeah, I did not watch the race, but I had selected O'Ward actually in the nearest the win, so that was pretty cool. Because I do not think anybody. I think I'm getting points for that one.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm extending my lead. But yeah, there's obviously all those young guys coming up with talent, and it's interesting watching old guard have to deal with it basically, and seeing how they're reacting, or responding. And they're not responding overly well. It seems like it's going to be the young guys' game, and it seems like it's kind of starting this year. So it's going to be fun to watch the younger generation pop in and start running things. And hopefully Dixon can grab another one on the way out, because I like Scott Dixon. So.
I like Scott Dixon as well. I thought he was going to be the odds-on favorite for the championship, but that looks to be slipping away at this point. But the championship is constricting as we're going into the final 3 road courses of the season. Start with Portland on September 12th, 3 p.m. That can be seen on NBC and Peacock, and as well as heard on the IndyCar or on the IMS radio network on Sirius XM. Folks, it's time for Nearest the Win. We got NASCAR and Formula One this week. I am going with the guy where this is his second home track, Max Verstappen. And I'm going to take Bubba Wallace to win his way into the playoffs at Daytona. Who you got?
You want to go first, Michael?
You can go first.
Okay. So... let's see. I'll start with Daytona because that's gonna be the trickier one. Like I said, I think someone's already in is gonna get it, and I think I'd be an idiot not to go with Denny Hamlin. And then Max Verstappen at the Belgian GP.
This is really... I want to go with Bubba Wallace with Darryl, but I don't want to jinx him. So I'm going to go with...
Daniel Suarez.
Okay, sure, why not?
No, No. I don't want this coming back on me.
No, go ahead. Let's make it interesting.
You know, he gave him that pick, and Suarez might end up winning the race at this point.
For the sake of you, Darryl, I hope that does not happen.
Make it interesting is what I gotta say.
Yeah,
because
well, I'm losing the grip on holding on to my championship right now, so I got to throw Hail Marys here.
You said it's F1 and F1 and no, I'm being stupid. F1. I'm going to go with Sergio Perez because Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen are going to take each other out in turn one.
We'll see where they qualify.
I think we've had
part of me wants to go Charles Leclerc, but we all know where that's going to go.
Yeah, let's not do that.
I
think we've had. I think there's been an audio issue tonight. I'm going to report some choppiness. I apologize. I think it's something with how this microphone is set up and plugged in. When I plug my headphones physically into the microphone, Skype doesn't like it. So we're going to be moving from Skype here soon anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But I want to say thank you guys again for joining me on this show. Usually this would be the time where I would shout out the social medias and go into the whole spiel. But unfortunately, tonight we have to end on some not good news. And we tweeted about this yesterday. And the motorsports world lost a titan of a journalist in Robin Miller, who passed away after a battle with cancer at age 71. And my first memories of Robin Miller was the loudmouth IndyCar guy that used to come on Wind Tunnel and talk down NASCAR all the time and pump up IndyCar during a time where IndyCar wasn't doing too hot. But Robin was a controversial but needed figure in motorsports. He really helped guide the IndyCar community through that tough time of the split and really promoted the sport to high heaven whenever he had the chance. There aren't that many journalists like Robin Miller left in this world. It's been a bad time for us as motorsports fans. We lost Bob Jenkins a couple of weeks ago as well, right after Brickyard weekend. And now we've also lost Robin Miller. And it's hard when you see these guys that you looked up to and you wanted to even be a tenth of them at some point, and to see that they've passed on. But their words will live forever. And between Jenkins and Miller, God's getting one heck of an account of everything that's going on down here. So Frozen Takes with AJ is next. I want to thank Michael and Christopher for joining us, and we're going to go out tonight with a moment of silence for Robin Miller, and everyone here at iSports Radio will give our deepest condolences to Robin Miller's family and the entire IndyCar world for this tragic loss. Good night, everyone, and we'll see you next week.